So what exactly has led to the Dodgers peaking at possibly the right time? The NBA gets involved in James Harden's trade demands, and Robert Quinn allegedly discovers his inner Vin Diesel. Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. So it is August 19th, 2023, and the apocalypse is nigh. A hurricane allegedly approaching. Look, guys, I've actually lived through a couple of them. Just keep your head about you. It should be cool. But in the meantime, let's keep our spirits up and talk some LA sports. If you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And comment. There's always good stuff to talk about when it comes to LA sports, even with an alleged national disaster looming. But before we go through the news and notes, let's take a look at the scoreboard. Yesterday, the Marlins snapped the Dodgers' 11-game winning streak with an 11-3 victory. Tony Gonsolin allowed 5 home runs. Damn, 5 home runs. The last time that happened to LA, 1973. I wasn't even in grade school then. If you're looking for a bright side, though, the Dodgers still lead the NL West by 10.5 games. Meanwhile, today, Miami will take on the Dodgers at noon. It's a doubleheader, actually. The first one is at noon. Caleb Ferguson is getting a spot start. He's 7-3 with a 2.38 ERA. Yuri Perez, 5-4 with a 3.19 ERA. Then the teams come back at 6:30. Julio Urias, 10-6. 4.35 ERA. Braxton Garrett, 7-3 with a 3.91 ERA. Again, this doubleheader is a result, obviously, of the incoming Hurricane Hillary. Vegas is playing the Rams at 6 p.m. down at SoFi, we think. It hasn't been moved back. The Sparks are in Las Vegas. That game takes place at noon. Now, it's a little too early in this clip to start clowning sports writers, but I have no choice. Because there's an idiot who actually wrote the headline, "The Sparks are peaking at the right time." The LA Sparks, the 12-18 LA Sparks are peaking at the right time. Imbeciles, blockheads. Oh, and by the way, Angel City FC is playing Racing Louisville at 4:30. Now, let's get to the news. We're getting different explanations as to how the Dodgers have rolled to this 11-game winning streak that was snapped last night. They're 15-2 in August. Once again, LA is on pace to win 100 regular season games. Now, CBS took a stab at it, at trying to explain it, and they've come up with 3 reasons. 1, the continued excellence of Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. 2, Clayton Kershaw's return, that he's not declining in terms of ability, it's just whether or not he's going to be healthy enough. And 3, the additions of Lance Lynn, Ryan Yarbrough, Joe Kelly. Read through it, it's a nice stab at an attempt to explain, but I don't think it's precise enough. I just don't think it's good enough. Look, who thought Betts and Freeman were going to suck, right? So do we really want to pin everything on them? I don't think so. We knew they weren't going to suck. We've been talking about the Dodgers, though, every single day on this channel. Every single day we talk Dodger baseball. It's always been about the pitching. Always. That was the big question mark. And in my opinion, especially over the last month, with the exception of Tony Gonsolin's performance last night, the Dodgers appear to have answered their pitching problems. See, the starters had an ERA over 6 in the month of July. 6. Do you remember that? Because it's really not that far ago. It was the highest ERA in a single month for the Dodgers since they moved from Brooklyn. And Dodger Stadium was always considered a pitcher's park. So let's put Betts and Freeman off to the side. I think it's all about the pitching. I think Kershaw definitely played a role. I also believe sincerely that Julio Urias has finally corrected the flaws that he had early in the season. And yes, Lance Lynn did play a role in that as well, in the Dodgers turnaround. But if you recall, Lynn came here and intentionally sought to simplify his approach. He was the one who made the change. He said he intentionally plans to throw more fastballs while he plays for the Dodgers. And it's worked for him. Do you remember Noah Syndergaard? He leaves for Cleveland, and he was talking about how he thought he was overcoached by the Dodgers, that he was just going to simplify. Was it possible that Lance Lynn was similarly overcoached over with the Chicago White Sox, that he was micromanaged? Something connected with Lynn that didn't connect with Syndergaard. So be it. So be it. And by the way, did you notice Yarbrough, when he was acquired, originally most of us thought he was going to be a spot starter because towards the end of his Royals career, he was starting. That's not what happened. Yarbrough has helped to profoundly stabilize a very unsettled Dodgers bullpen. He's been the stabilizing force. So yes, the Dodgers, it's all been about stabilizing the pitching over the last month. If the Dodgers pitching continues to be that stable, they will be a threat. More so than just having Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman rake. Just saying. Ever since I limited my alcohol consumption to less than a bottle of absinthe green and a shot of Clorox, it's been harder for me to puke. But I can still puke. And the reason I bring that up is because I read what Dave Roberts said about both Freeman and Betts being both deserving of MVP consideration. And ugh. Roberts spoke with Sportsnet LA, and as you would expect, quote, "I have a guy that I can pencil in every single day, and that expects every other guy on this team to do the same thing and play a certain brand of baseball. That's very valuable." Hey, the other guy, to have a superstar go in and say, "I'm a gold glover in right field and I'm going to play shortstop or second base if we need to give other guys an opportunity against the right-handed pitcher, that's very valuable." I'm not saying Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman aren't valuable. I have a lot of love for them. But you can't have two MVPs on the same team. They only give out one NL MVP. It's probably not even going to be Betts or Freeman. You don't have to happy talk it. They're having great seasons. Don't give me reason to vomit, guys. They're simply damn fine players. Because everything that I'm looking at, I think Ronald Acuna of Atlanta is going to be the NL MVP. It's not taking anything away from Betts or Freeman. You cannot push two Dodgers to be co-MVP. Just don't. It was Friday night. I had reason to drink. Don't make me, please. JD Martinez and his magical groin of mystery may need a trip to the injured list after all. He said so on Friday. He said they were going to give it a shot, and if it flares up, he's going to take a couple of weeks off. The Dodgers have also signed infielder Colton Wong to a minor league contract. He used to play for St. Louis, Milwaukee, Seattle, and now fabulous Oklahoma City. So there's that. Sources are telling ESPN that the NBA has launched an inquiry as to why the eternally disgruntled James Harden called 76ers President James Morey a liar. Hopefully this talk is not going to go too far into the weeds. But as you might know, Harden picked up his option on his contract thinking that the Sixers would then trade him to the LA Clippers, right? Now the Clippers, knowing this, as you might imagine, said, hey, let's put together a pile of poop and hand it to Philly in order to get a former MVP. Yeah, their trade package centered around a reserve for a former MVP. Now look, I have no love for Philadelphia, but I'm not stupid. Why would the Sixers Why would the Sixers accept that trade? Why? Absolutely not. So then Harden gets pissed off and he complains so much that now the NBA is involved. Now, if you're a Clippers fan, you might be excited about this. Hooray! We're about to force a trade for a 10-time All-Star. How amazing. But should you really buy into that? Be careful what you wish for. Look, James Harden has a history of being a malcontent whenever things don't go his way. He forced his way out of Houston by being a bad guy. Then he pushed a trade from Brooklyn to Philadelphia. And why? Because he had a deep personal and professional relationship with James Morey, who he now calls a liar. What makes you think it'll be any different if James Harden comes to LA? Because Steve Ballmer is just a happy guy? If there's anybody that can wipe the smile off of Steve Ballmer's face, it's James Harden. Be careful, guys. Be careful what you wish for. You know, if former Rams pass rusher Robert Quinn offers to buy you a car, the safest answer is to say yes. Quinn, who has played for 3 teams, but he was originally drafted by the Rams when they were in St. Louis, turned himself into police on Friday morning and was charged with 4 hit and runs, 1 hit and run with somebody in the vehicle, striking a highway fixture, and 3rd-degree assault and battery. So there's that. He allegedly did all of this on Tuesday night in his own neighborhood in South Carolina. Now, one of his neighbors, a lady, said, quote, he kept saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll buy you new cars. I'll buy you a new car. Let's go to the dealership. I told him to get off my property, and he proceeded to put his hands on me and slap me not once but twice." Unquote. You know, there have been about 127 Fast and Furious movies, right? But nobody in Hollywood has yet to give the green light to the Furious and the More Furious spinoff. I don't know. Look, Robert Quinn, don't know the man, not saying he's guilty, have no idea. Vin Diesel is a weird looking dude. Vin Diesel wears wife beaters and thinks that that's high fashion. But just because he wears a wife beater doesn't mean it gives him permission to actually slap around somebody's wife, which he hasn't. And neither should Robert Quinn if he's trying to act like Vin Diesel. Allegedly. Allegedly. Back to the current Rams, Sean McVay is asserting tight end Bryson Hopkins has been a bright spot in training camp. Hopkins is in his 4th year. He entered training camp as the guy on the bubble. Now, let's be real. He's not taking Tyler Higbee's job, and the tight end came here in a Jalen Ramsey trade. Basically, what it sounds like is that Bryson Hopkins is securing his gig as opposed to actually making an impact. ESPN wrote this happy story about 4 UCLA quarterbacks and how all quarterbacks are happy to be the bestest of best friends. Why, just listening to Ethan Garbers, Dante Moore, Colin Schlee, Justin Martin, you haven't read such a friendship story that warmed your heart since you were a kid going through Charlotte's Web. That is how happy McHappy they are. There they are, just 4 random best buddies, breaking down the cover 2 defense while skipping rocks across the LA River. That's how this story read, ESPN. Now, when you're done puking, understand that this is the 2nd Happy Talk story that UCLA has spoon-fed the press over their quarterback room instead of naming an actual quarterback to start. The LA Times wrote the first, ESPN now with the 2nd. And if you want to know the truth, it's starting to make me mad. You mean to tell me that you are acting this secretive because you don't want to name a quarterback against Coastal Carolina? Coastal Carolina. They're afraid of dropping intel to a team nicknamed the Chanticleers. The Chanticleers. You really think that they are going to take that intel and pull an upset? Stop it, Chip Kelly. Stop it. Name your starting quarterback. Besides, if you name Dante Moore your starting quarterback, you might actually have more than 25,000 people for your season opener at the Rose Bowl. Over nothing. Name your quarterback. Yesterday, we spoke a bit about how the Saints receivers fared against the Chargers defense, but what about the reverse? We didn't know. We do know, though, that rookie first-rounder Quentin Johnson of the Chargers did not catch a pass. He was targeted twice. Now, Brandon Staley isn't wavering from Johnson, and I'm certainly not trying to declare the guy a bust. But Staley is stating the obvious. Performance in practice equals playing time. Performance in practice equals playing time. Now, according to The Athletic, however, a group that is performing for the Chargers is the offensive line. The line went into the season expecting to be a strength, and they are exceeding expectations. They are going to be a handful for opponents in both pass protection and run blocking. I mentioned earlier that the Dodgers, they have a doubleheader today. One of the games was moved up because they are trying to avoid any potential problems with Hurricane Hillary. MLS also stepped in. They have postponed the Galaxy match. They have postponed the LAFC match that was both scheduled for Sunday as well to avoid any issues with Hurricane. Colorado will play LAFC on Wednesday. The Galaxy pushed its match with Real Salt Lake all the way back into October 14th. UCLA basketball coach Mick Cronin said that the conference realignment that has happened is because of money and is not in the best interest of student athletes. Quote, none of it is in the best interest of the student athlete, no matter what anybody says. It is in the best interest of more money to cover the bills. That's it, unquote. True, at least part of it. But you have to admit, Coach, UCLA does have bills to pay. They have a lot of bills to pay. Last I checked, they lowered it from more than 100 million to about 60 million, and Credit Karma alone is not going to fix that mess. So before I go any further, I just want you to know I don't have any problem with Mick Cronin, but I have to take issue with how none of this benefits the student athlete, according to him. Students are choosing UCLA and USC because they want to live in Southern California and play against the toughest opponents. Because the Pac-12, or now the Pac-4, can't offer that. So no, that is in the best interest of the student athlete to show that they can perform against the best. They're saying so. They're saying so. Moreover, Cronin gave a warning that this will not be the end of athletic departments looking for more money because he believes schools will have to pay athletes more in the near future. Quote, where is this going to be in 5 years whenever the ruling comes down? You got to pay the revenue players. Where's that money coming from? We already exhausted all the media rights money, question mark. Now, this is true too, but I don't have a problem with it, and I'll tell you why. Do you remember how Dick Vitale used to call freshman basketball players diaper dandies? They're grown men and women. They're not in diapers. They're not children, they're adults. They are capable of making up their own minds if they want to get paid to play. They are providing a service, and that service is actually going to be more valuable to UCLA than simply giving a scholarship would ever equate. So I don't have a problem with it. We've been getting mixed reports throughout USC football's training camp. Very convincing, very, very happy. So convincing, it's almost like the stripper at Spearmint Rhino who really takes interest in your job, and you tap your friend on the shoulder and you say, bro, the stripper likes me. That's how happy the happy talk is. And I bring this up because a couple of weeks ago, we were hearing all this stuff about how former top recruit Corey Foreman and how he's finally consistent in practice. And this should lead to playing time. Wrong. It's not. The season opener is a week away. He did not have a good camp. According to the LA Times, Foreman has been limited with what appears to be a shoulder injury. Foreman could still get time in the past, because USC didn't have any depth on the defensive line. But they have depth on the defensive line now. Foreman might be out of a gig. But let me know what you think of the comments thread, because we went through a ton. You let me know what led to the Dodgers hot streak. Tell me if you would be happy to have a ride in a car with Robert Quinn. And if you enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.